You ever come home from a 12-hour shift, ready to admire your brand new driveway, only to find it in pieces? That was me, Frederick Adams, on a Tuesday afternoon, standing in front of my house, staring at torn-up concrete like it was some kind of bad dream. Only it wasn't a dream. It was the HOA. More specifically, it was Tamara Alcott, the HOA president and full-time pain in everyone's backside. She stood there in her sun hat and oversized sunglasses like she was surveying the ruins of a battlefield she was proud of. And in a way, she was.
You have to have the area.
"Oh, Frederick," she said with that high-pitched, nasal tone she always used when she was about to do something awful. "You knew better than to pave your driveway without submitting the proper forms. We had no choice." "No choice," I said, blinking at the mess. "I submitted that form 6 weeks ago. You even signed off on it in the meeting. I've got the minutes." Tamara clucked her tongue and waved a clipboard like it was a magic wand. "That wasn't final. The committee hadn't reached consensus." "There is no committee," I snapped. "It's just you and your little band of minions who pretend to be busy so you can swing your weight around." She gave a fake laugh and turned to the two guys in neon vests standing by the busted-up driveway. "Boys, make sure the debris is hauled out before 5. We don't want to violate our own landscaping guidelines." I felt my blood pressure rising. This wasn't just some HOA overreach. This was personal. Ever since I outvoted her proposal to ban street parking last spring, she'd had it out for me. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder. Scanned copies of the application, her signature, the HOA guidelines, and a time-stamped video from my Ring camera showing Tamara herself walking up to my door and handing back the approved paperwork.
Makes sense, I'm not that hungry.
"You tore up my driveway over a lie, Tamara," she blinked but didn't flinch. "That driveway didn't meet aesthetic guidelines. It was too dark. It's charcoal gray. It matches my roof."
Even let people have a chance.
"Well, it disrupted the harmony of the street," she said, clearly scrambling. That's when my neighbor Marcus walked over. "Frederick, I saw the whole thing. They brought in a crew this morning while you were out. No notice, no warning, just tore it up." Tamara laughed again, but this time it was tighter.
And if you don't like it,
"We followed protocol."
I don't know what else to do.
"No," I said, stepping closer. "You broke into private property and destroyed something you had no right to touch. That's vandalism." Her smile vanished. "Hope you've got good insurance," I added. She turned on her heel and stormed off down the sidewalk, muttering something about legal gray areas.
When I'm like streaming,
but I wasn't done, not even close.
My desk setup,
By the time the sun dipped behind the oak trees lining our street, I'd already filed a police report, contacted a construction attorney, and emailed the city's code enforcement division. Tamara might have thought she could bulldoze her way over me, but I wasn't about to let her walk off after authorizing what amounted to destruction of private property. I had hard proof, timestamps, and a neighbor ready to speak on record.
But this makes me quite excited.
I was sitting on my porch with a cold compress against my temple stress headache creeping in when Officer Delaney pulled up.
Wait, isn't it a month
She was tall,
already?
with a clipboard tucked under one arm and a no-nonsense demeanor that suggested she'd handled more than her share of neighborhood power trippers. "You Frederick Adams?" "Yeah," I said, standing. "That's me." She glanced at the driveway, then down at the report in her hand. "Your contractor confirms the job was finished 2 days ago. You've got video, HOA documentation, and eyewitness support."
That is basically already in a month.
Not a bad start. Didn't feel like a start when I got home to this mess.
I'm like starting to
Delaney
freak out
nodded,
already
stepped
'cause I'm
off the
like,
porch,
time is
and
going
crouched
so
near the edge of
fast.
the torn-up concrete.
And I'm just like...
They used a jackhammer. No protective
I
barriers.
was like...
No permits pulled through the city.
Stuff up for, like, Twitch
I followed her gaze to where the ground had been left uneven, cracked, and littered with stray bits of rebar. They didn't even notify 811, I said. They could have hit a gas line. Her jaw tightened.
That's too fast.
"You're aware that what happened here goes beyond HOA enforcement.
I know.
If they authorize this without your permission, that's criminal mischief.
This time it's like
possibly felony vandalism, depending on the cost of the damage. Contractor's estimate is just under 20 grand.
One last time.
And that's just to get it back the way it was. She let out a sharp breath through her nose. "I'll be making some calls."
It's really cheap.
As she radioed it in, I noticed a few more neighbors gathering on their porches. Word had spread fast. Marcus was already fielding questions, pointing at the mess and gesturing toward Tamara's house. Nobody looked surprised, just angry, resigned. One woman from 2 doors down muttered something about her garden beds being tampered with last month after she refused to vote for a dues increase. Delaney wrapped up her call and turned back to me.
Yeah, that's so fast.
"I'll need the full video, the signed form, and a list of HOA board members. If you've got any communication from them acknowledging the approval, that'll help speed this along. I've got it all on a flash drive."
Going through my
including her handing me the signed approval on camera. "Perfect," she said. "I'll be stopping by her place next." By the time she left, a quiet tension had settled over the neighborhood. People weren't just curious anymore, they were watching, waiting, hoping someone would finally hold Tamara accountable. The next morning, I called in a favor from someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. My cousin, Riley, had worked for the district attorney's office before switching to private practice. She specialized in property disputes, and if anyone could navigate the legal maze Tamara had built around herself, it was her. "You've got them in a corner," Riley said after I laid out the situation. "Unauthorized destruction of private property, violation of city ordinance. And if your HOA's bylaws don't grant the board unilateral authority to reverse approvals, then Tamara just acted outside her legal scope. She'll claim it was an emergency correction," I said. "She can try," Riley replied. "But with your documents and the video, that won't hold. Especially if this wasn't the first time she's pulled something like this." It wasn't. Then we go for triple damages under civil code. "You'll get your driveway, plus restitution." A week later, Tamara was served outside the community clubhouse during one of her so-called beautification meetings. She tried to play it off, laughing nervously in front of her followers, but the envelope was heavy with evidence and intent.
I never did. I always thought they were a bit too pricey.
The legal kind. By then, Officer Delaney had already confirmed that no permits were filed for the demolition. The crew she hired had been paid under the table and had no licensing to do structural removal. One of the workers even confessed to thinking it was an abandoned property. That's when the city got involved. Code enforcement slapped the HOA with 4 citations, each carrying hefty fines. The city attorney opened a formal investigation into the HOA's finances, especially after it came to light that Tamara had dipped into the reserve fund to pay the demolition crew. Without a vote, without documentation, without even informing the treasurer, the HOA board scrambled. 2 members resigned. One claimed she hadn't even known the driveway was being touched. A third said Tamara pushed through the decision during an emergency session that no one else attended.
For example,
the treasurer tried to distance himself, but his name was on a reimbursement check labeled landscape correction. The community was furious, not just because of what happened to me, but because they all realized how easily it could have been them. Suddenly, old stories started resurfacing. A shed removed without consent, a mailbox replaced and billed without warning, garden beds ripped out and standardized, all under the guise of protecting property values. We held a special meeting that Friday evening on the basketball court behind the clubhouse.
They're reviewing the pictures right
Marcus brought a portable PA system. People brought folding chairs. Tamara didn't show. I stood up with the police report in one hand and a petition in the other. "Tamara Alcott acted beyond her authority," I said. "She used HOA funds without approval. She broke the law. And she did it to settle a personal grudge. If we don't act now, this won't be the last time it happens." The petition to remove her gathered 63 signatures by sundown. We only needed 30.
Blink twice if you need help.
The next day, the board met in emergency session, a real one this time, and voted unanimously to suspend Tamara pending legal outcomes. Her access to HOA funds was revoked. Her keys to the clubhouse were collected. Her nameplate was removed from the entrance sign.
Like the
As
the
for
ones we
me,
saw by
Riley
by the
filed
river,
the
like
civil
pink
suit
ones.
within
I
the
think
week.
that would look really cool
Between the
too.
cost of repairs, legal fees, and punitive damages, the HOA's insurance ended up settling for nearly $60,000.
But actually,
I rebuilt the
just
driveway
started
better
the
than
question. I
before
think they
and
closed
used
this
the extra
park
to install a security
at a
system with
certain
8
time.
cameras and motion sensors. The
Which
best
I
part,
don't know what time that is.
the settlement required the HOA to
Right?
issue a formal
Would they?
apology,
Did they close it?
printed
Maybe
and
not.
distributed in our monthly
Maybe not.
newsletter.
Maybe we're good.
Right on the front page, beneath a photo of
I mean,
my
it's so
pristine,
crowded.
newly
I
paved
don't think they're
driveway.
closing yet.
Tamara hasn't been seen on our street since. 3 weeks after Tamara vanished from the neighborhood radar, a city inspector named Mr. Havorson showed up on my doorstep.
We have to think of other things.
He had a clipboard in one
where
hand,
to go, like,
a manila
streaming
folder in the
before,
other,
like, I leave
and a look like
Korea
he
for
hadn't
good.
smiled since the Reagan
Maybe we could do,
administration.
like the cast, like the
I'm
palace
following
one
up
more
on the
time. That would be
financial
kinda
audit
fun.
of your HOA, he said without so much as a greeting.
Or-
Your name came up in the report. I stepped aside and motioned him into the
Actually, I don't
foyer.
know.
He didn't take off his boots or comment on the welcome mat. Just opened the folder and started
Was it
talking
4 or
like we
5?
were already in the
No,
middle
no,
of a
no.
deposition.
No, it's already past 6:30.
Your
If
driveway
it was 4 or
incident
5,
kicked
it
off a
would have already
sequence
been
of
closed.
discoveries, he said. Turns out the HOA's reserve fund
It
isn't
might be,
just
like,
short,
after
it's
sundown,
practically
like 7 or
non-existent.
something like that.
The city's trying to account for the funds, but several disbursements were made without a paper trail. Let me
I mean,
guess,
I think I gotta go
said,
sit
shutting the
anyways.
door
I'm
behind
not
him.
feeling that
All
great.
under
I don't wanna
Tamara's
be on too
reign.
long.
Not all, he replied, but most.
What do
And
you
based on
mean?
what we're seeing, there may have been state and
Seriously,
federal
Enzo?
violations.
Are
He
you,
laid
like,
out a
being sarcastic?
spreadsheet with highlighted entries. Most of the numbers meant nothing to me, but one line stood out: an expense labeled property enhancement that matched the exact date my driveway was destroyed. That's the payment to the crew, I said. Havorson nodded. Except it wasn't logged until 4 days after the fact, and the check was issued under a
Close
different
to Alicia,
budget code,
yeah. There's a lot of,
stormwater
really
management.
cute girls, like, just taking
Stormwater,
pictures with their
I
friends
blinked.
slash boyfriends.
There hasn't been a flood on this street in 20 years.
Ooh,
That's
shit,
what made
that
it
was
stand out. We've also got another
right.
entry,
I just never
$5,800
noticed it when I
coded
noticed
as legal consultation, but no invoice, no law firm name, just a handwritten receipt signed by Tamara. He didn't need to elaborate. I knew what that meant. She'd been using the HOA's money like a personal
No,
piggy
no, like,
bank,
I'm
and
moving
now
back.
the city had the lid
I mean,
off.
I probably
By
will
the
come
following
back to
Tuesday,
Korea,
a
but if I come
subpoena
back, I'll be,
arrived,
like, a
not for me,
tourist.
Tamara,
I wouldn't be
and
living
not
here
just from the
anymore.
city,
I'll
but
just
from
come
the
back to, like,
district
visit
attorney's
friends.
office. They were
But
investigating
when that
her
will
for
be, I do not
misappropriation of funds, falsification of records, and unlawful demolition of private property.
We saved it.
The last one tied directly to my case, but the rest had roots stretching back almost 6 years. I didn't realize how deep it all went until I got a call from a resident named Mrs. Garvey.
Fiddler.
She
Well,
lived
I
3
don't know
blocks
what I
over and
have
hadn't
to do
spoken
with
at
fiddler.
any
I'm
of the
not
meetings.
finished.
Her voice trembled when she
I'm
introduced
moving back to the
herself.
Netherlands.
I never thought
Isn't that
anyone
less
would
expensive?
stand
I
up to
mean,
her,
yeah,
she
but
said.
for me, at this point, it's more.
3 years ago,
It's
she
still
had
my
my
home,
husband's
you know, I
shed
was born and
condemned while he
raised
was in the
there. I miss my
hospital.
family
Said it was a safety risk.
lot,
We didn't have the
so-
strength to fight her.
And in general,
I
think,
invited
like,
her
I'm just-
over.
I'm just.
She
kinda
brought a
done
folder
with
of
Korea. Like, it's a
photographs,
really nice
letters, and
country,
receipts,
but,
everything
you know, I
meticulously
feel like
kept.
anybody, a lot of foreigners.
Her husband
that
had
move
been a
here,
Korean
it's just,
War
like,
vet who
temporary,
built the
which I
shed
always knew,
himself
like, I've
back in
always
the
said that.
70s.
Me moving to Korea would be
Tamara had it
temporary, just
removed
a
while he was
short-
recovering from
short
surgery,
period. Honestly, it's
citing
longer
a
than I
lack of
expected.
structural integrity.
And like it's just
No
run its
inspection
course.
had
Like,
ever
it's just ready
occurred.
for me to
No vote had been
go
held.
do something else.
She threatened to fine us
know?
$200 a day if we replaced it, Mrs. Garvey whispered. I still have the
I love that
notice.
they're also like.
I
not
took the
even
documents
close
and
to one
added them to
another.
the growing
No,
pile.
it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's just funny.
Marcus had already started compiling stories like hers into a running log,
So yeah, I'm gonna
each
go back
one
to
a
the
different
Netherlands
version of the same
and
abuse.
live with
Unapproved
my
removals,
sisters, which
random
I really
fines,
like as well, and just
aesthetic
kinda see,
infractions that always
what
seemed
the
to
next
apply to people who
chapter
had disagreed
will
with
do,
Tamara in
or
some
where it's gonna
way.
bring me, but
The DA's office launched
That
a
is true,
grand
both
jury
have fun,
inquiry
right?
within a week.
that is.
I got a
cannot-
formal
I can-
request to
I can see
testify.
where the confusion
Riley
comes
prepared me
from.
like I was walking into federal court. She was all business, no coffee
Oh my
breaks,
God,
no
there's
small
such a
talk.
cute little
Just a
dog
binder
over
full of
there.
exhibits and a laser pointer she used like a
It's
weapon.
like one of those like really fuzzy.
You'll be
little
the first witness,
Pomeranians.
she
I
said.
love Pomeranians.
Your case
I
is the
swear,
most
if I-
recent and the
if I
most
ever-
documented.
I
They'll
wanna
want you
get
to
one
establish
so
a
bad in
pattern.
the future.
The courthouse was colder than I expected. not just temperature-wise, but in
They're just
tone.
so cute. They're,
Everything
like, so
echoed.
compact,
Even my
you know, it's so
footsteps
small.
sounded suspicious.
Like, I've
The
always had big
assistant
dogs
DA,
my entire
a woman
life,
named
but
Marissa Nguyen,
I just
met
like
me outside the chamber.
Pomeranians, they're so fluffy and
"You're
small.
not
They
just
look like
helping us
teddy
stop
bears.
her," she said as she adjusted her notes. "You're helping us prevent someone like her from doing this again." Inside, the jurors sat in a semicircle, not quite glaring but not smiling either. I took the oath, sat in the chair, and started from the top.
Somebody just took a
Not
picture of
just
me.
the driveway, but everything that happened after.
Damn, I should have
The
posed.
forged expense lines. The misused codes. The construction
Hey,
crew with no
George.
permits. The threats. The cover-up.
What's up?
The silence from the rest of the board. Every word was
We're just
backed up
here
with
chilling
video,
with the
documents,
three
and
of us.
sworn statements. I wasn't nervous until they played the footage of Tamara handing back the approval form. That's when I saw the jurors lean forward.
All right, girl.
That's when I knew they weren't just listening, they
Sometimes
were absorbing.
actually, I've started
After I
doing it
finished,
when,
Nguyen handed
when
out
people
copies of the
are, like,
HOA meeting
pointing
minutes
at
from
me,
that
like,
week.
They see me, and
The
then
ones
they, like,
where no discussion
tap
of the
their
driveway
friends,
took
and
place
they're, like,
at all.
telling their friends to look at me.
"Let the record
and if
show,"
they do that,
she
sometimes I
said,
just kind of go
that
like,
the HOA president
like
signed an
that, and
approval,
they feel
then
awkward. Like,
retroactively
yeah, I
claimed
feel
it was
awkward too.
invalid,
Wait, look at this
despite
dude. It's
no
just
formal
on-
vote or discussion.
just standing on its food.
Let the record also show that the decision to destroy Mr. Adams' property was executed without legal notice, without
Yes,
city
Korea.
permits, and paid for with misclassified funds. The jurors said nothing, just
the other
nodded.
one?
2 weeks
You mean
later,
my cat,
indictments were
Leah?
handed down.
That
Tamara was arrested at a private tennis club 40 miles away.
Was it again?
She tried to
Leia,
claim
right?
she was
Leia.
on
Yeah, I
sabbatical,
miss Leia a
but the
lot.
officers weren't buying it.
I had another
They
breakdown
cuffed her
about
in
my
front of
cat
a
again
dozen
the other
witnesses.
night. I have those
The
very
mugshot
often.
made the evening news,
kind of entertaining
but it
at
wasn't
this
just
point.
her. The treasurer who signed off on the reimbursement check, indicted, the contractor who took cash without a license,
No.
fined
sometimes
and
it's just
barred
like-
from public work,
Like,
and the HOA
when you
board,
know-
dissolved
when you
under
know, you
emergency
know.
city order
It's kinda,
pending
like, so
re-election.
counterproductive, but, like,
That's
it's
when
like
the
when you know,
neighbors
you
really
know.
stepped up.
And for me, I just
Marcus
at one
ran
point, I
for
was just
interim
like, yeah, I
president
feel like
and
it's
won
time
in a
for me to
landslide.
leave. It's just Korea.
Mrs.
It's
Garvey,
just, that
who'd never
chapter
even
is
attended a
closed,
meeting
and,
before, became
I
secretary.
found peace with it. Like, I'm not
A
sad.
retired
Like, I am sad
accountant
about
2
it, but
doors down
I'm sad about,
volunteered
like,
to audit
leaving the
every
people.
expense
I'm not
dating
about sad
back
about
10
leaving
years.
the country.
We held the first open
I wish I could
forum
just
under
bring
the
all
new
my-
board
like,
on
all
a
the people
Saturday
with me
morning.
instead. No, I'm not.
More than
well,
70
I'm-
residents showed up. Coffee,
Just, like,
donuts,
part-time,
folding
that's
chairs. It felt like a town hall instead of a war zone. "We're not
I was
here
an
to
English
punish,"
teacher here
Marcus
for a long
said,
time.
"but we are here to
Not
fix what was
anymore.
broken. And that starts with
Got
transparency."
fired. No, just kidding.
He handed out printed
I got fired
copies
for a
of the
good
new
reason.
bylaw amendments.
That makes it sound like I did something really
No
bad.
funds could
Just
be
because I
moved
was
without 2
constantly
signatures.
out of the country. At
All
one point they were
decisions
like, "Hey,
required
babes,
a public
we can't,
vote.
like,
No penalties without
get
photographic
substitutes
evidence
every
and
3 months."
third-party
And I was like,
review. I didn't say
guess.
much. Just sat in the back, watching it all unfold. The neighborhood wasn't perfect, but it was
They were
finally
like, "Hey,
ours
when are you
again.
coming back?" And I'm like, I'm
And then
kinda
came the
thinking, like, a good
restitution.
time back home.
The
Like,
settlement
come back
Riley
in, like,
filed reached court
2
just before
months. They were
Tamara's
like,
arraignment.
Yeah, we
The
can't,
judge
like,
ruled
find
in our favor.
substitutes every,
Triple
like, for that
damages.
long, every single
HOA
time. And I was
insurance
like,
picked
yeah,
up the
that's
tab, but the company filed a claim
enough,
against
I guess.
Tamara personally to recoup. They seized her car, froze her accounts, put a
I mean, I
lien
was
on
gonna
her
quit
second property
either
in
way.
Sarasota.
Like, I was gonna
got the
quit
check
this-
in early
like,
spring.
this month, so
I used part of it to repave the driveway again,
Kinda
but
worked
this
in my
time I
favor
added
anyways.
custom pavers. Slate gray with deep black borders,
Teaching kids
not just
slurs,
functional,
exactly.
beautiful. The rest went to a community
literally
emergency
had, like,
fund.
Slur of the day on the board.
We named it the Garvey Fund. Funny how a driveway can become the first domino. Funny how power,
No, I just
when
wanted to go
abused
home.
long enough, can
Like, I was just
unravel in a
homesick.
single
I was
moment
just
of
really
arrogance.
homesick at one point
Tamara
because, like,
thought
I
she
was
could
kind of,
tear up
like, I
concrete and
wanted to
leave no
move back
cracks
home, but,
behind.
like, I just
She was
wasn't-
wrong.
Like, at the same
By
time, I also wanted to be in
mid-spring,
Korea,
the
so I
neighborhood
was
had
just like,
transformed in
why
ways that
not?
went
And I ran
beyond
back and
fresh
forth a
pavement
lot,
and
but
removed
I just, like,
nameplates.
I can't do that
The
anymore.
fear was gone. You could feel it in the way people waved longer,
about your teaching
lingered in
skills.
their yards, and started replacing the plain hedges Tamara used to mandate
just
with
baby
flowers
talk,
of
to be
every
honest.
shade.
Just a lot of baby talking.
Even the sidewalks seemed less rigid, as if the place itself had exhaled for the first time in years. But not everything was blooming.
Yeah, it
2
wasn't for
weeks
pizza, it was
after
just because I
Tamara's
wanted to go
arraignment,
home.
the
And at one
city's
point I was,
forensic
like, more in the
accountant
Netherlands
released
when
a
I was in
supplemental
Korea, so I was
report.
like, yeah, maybe it's
Riley
just
got a
time.
copy before it went public.
What if it's her No.
She read it in my kitchen,
I don't
flipping
know.
through the pages
'Cause
with the
it's just-
mechanical
I
calm
miss,
of
like,
someone
my
used
own
to finding
home.
rot behind
Like the
polished walls.
Netherlands and
She didn't just misuse
I
the HOA
miss,
funds, Riley
like, I
said,
miss
tapping a line
nature.
near
It
the
sounds
bottom.
really weird 'cause, like,
She laundered them. I leaned
nature,
over
but,
the
like,
counter.
I've never really
Through
been
what?
a big city
A shell
person, I feel
landscaping
like.
business.
I've always been more
Registered
of
in
a
the name of her
quieter,
cousin in
calmer person,
Arizona.
so I'm also just kind of like done
She'd
with living
submit
in a big
inflated
city, I think.
invoices for
Like, I can't do
non-existent
this
projects
anymore.
retaining walls, erosion control,
What's the funniest
things
thing a
nobody would
student has
ever
ever
verify and
done?
cut herself checks through the
Oh
HOA.
man, they've done so many
How long was
silly
that going on?
things.
Looks like about 5 years.
I think like
the total's just
funniest
under
stuff was normally if I
200,000.
wasn't allowed to
I sat
laugh.
back.
Because what they did was
That's
kind of
not
bad,
just
but
mismanagement.
it was
That's
so
fraud at
funny that I would
scale.
just laugh.
Which is why the state's stepping in now.
I mean, camping up
She closed
is
the
not my
folder and
thing.
exhaled
I'm
through
more
her
like
nose.
small town person.
The DA's adding
But
wire
I'm not
fraud
like
and
going out
racketeering to the
into
charges.
wild and camping
There's
in the middle
talk of
nowhere
involving the
under
FBI
the
since some of the
stars with no
funds crossed
electricity.
state
I'm not that
lines.
kind of person either,
The next
but-
day, a pair of
Oh, man,
unmarked
what is the
SUVs
funniest
parked
thing?
outside what
Like,
used to be
student- there was,
Tamara's
like, this
house.
one
The blinds
time-
were drawn, the mailbox
I think
stuffed.
it was Junie.
Agents in plain clothes entered
he
with a
was
warrant and
accused,
came
whatever.
out with 2
And
desktop
what
towers,
did he
a stack
do?
of
He did
external
something
drives, and a
naughty. He
locked
was a
cash
naughty
box.
kid.
The whole street watched from
And I
behind
was, like,
cracked
trying to
windows
tell
and
him,
porch
like,
swings.
don't do that,
No
but,
one
like, he
cheered.
kept doing it. It was
No one
honestly
gloated.
the funniest thing ever.
They just absorbed
think it
it
was pretty
quietly,
stupid. I was like,
like the final act of a play they never auditioned for but had lived in, line by line. Later that week, Marcus called an
Oh my
emergency
God, it's
meeting
like
not out of
dinner.
panic, but
It's like a
transparency.
potato. It's so round.
He stood in front of a folding table with a stack of printed ledgers and a projector aimed at the side of the
Yeah,
clubhouse.
I'm not really the camping
We've
type,
uncovered
to be
evidence that
honest.
Tamara
If I'm
created a
really,
separate
really
set
honest
of
with you.
books, he said.
More like the
One that
glamping
listed fake
kind,
vendors and
but-
inflated contracts. The board never saw these. The
But, like, for
treasurer
example,
says
I
he
don't
was
know if
given
you guys- if
summaries,
you've ever
not
seen,
originals.
Like, my parents' place, I
A
stream
man
there
from the second
sometimes,
cul-de-sac,
in their
Jorge, I think,
garden.
raised his
Oh.
hand. Are we liable for any of
so
this?
cute.
No, Marcus said. The city confirmed we're considered victims.
Rotund.
They're treating the HOA as an
Absolutely
entity that was
rotund.
defrauded, not complicit. Another hand went up.
What's
What about the dues
up?
increase last winter? The one she said
How
was for
are you, my
emergency
guy?
reserve recovery.
Jared
That's
Wilson
under
streaming.
review, Marcus replied.
Look at
If the
that.
funds were misdirected, we'll get
Especially
restitution.
for you.
The city's coordinating with an
We're in
independent
Soul Park.
auditor now. I didn't speak during that meeting. I just watched the room. People who'd once whispered their grievances were now
You know,
asking
this
precise
was- honestly, it looks
questions.
heavy.
No
That
more
thing is
side
round.
glances. No more
It's
nodding
heavy.
and staying quiet. The silence had been broken, and no one
Yeah,
wanted it back.
how are things mental?
3 days
Are you
later, a
surviving the
federal
army?
indictment was filed.
Hang in
The
there,
HOA
bud.
embezzlement crossed enough jurisdictions to trigger interstate
All day
wire
13.
fraud
Oh, nice. It's so
charges.
pretty, right?
The landscaping company was a front. Her cousin,
Have a cigarette.
already
I don't
cooperating in exchange for immunity. He'd
Truth
never
be
seen a
told,
dime.
I don't even think I
Just
know
let
how
her
to
use
smoke
his
a
name
cigarette,
and
which
address
sounds
to
really
register
stupid,
the
but, like, do you
LLC.
just, like,
Tamara was denied
inhale it?
bail. That week,
Like, do you just,
a
like-
local news van
like you're
rolled
breathing
through the
air?
neighborhood. The
Or do you
anchor, a polished brunette
inhale
with
it
perfect
differently?
posture, knocked on my door asking
This
for a
sounds really
statement.
dumb, but like,
I declined.
Because I remember the first time I ever did shisha, I
Not
was, like,
because
really
I didn't
confused
have
about
anything
that.
to say, but because I'd already said it when I'd testified, when I'd stood in front of the grand jury, when I handed over the
He was just
flash
looking at
drive
me.
that
Oh, I
started it
missed
all.
This dog, I
The
look
story
over the
was
side,
out
just, like,
there now.
Like,
It didn't need
me.
another quote.
You
Instead,
should
I
try
put
it.
my time into
No,
something
probably
else.
Not. I don't even know where to
The
get
community voted to use a portion of the settlement funds to create a formal oversight committee, 5 residents, rotated annually, with direct access to
them. I
all
looked into the
financial
flash and all I
records.
see is white. I'm
No
like,
more closed-door meetings. No more unilateral decisions. Every expense over $500
Just look
required a
away.
published notice and a majority vote. I was asked to chair it. At first, I hesitated.
oh my
I'd never
God,
wanted to be
this is
involved in
so much
politics, even the neighborhood kind. But then
Can I
I
put
thought of
this on my
Mrs.
phone
Garvey's
list?
photographs.
This one specifically.
Of Marcus pacing
I'm gonna put it
outside
on
his
my phone. Maybe
garage
if I
the
get
day
lucky, Leia
Tamara
buys
had
it
his
for me.
permit denied for architectural
This
disharmony.
specific
Of the
Pomeranian.
way people looked at their own homes like they were renting them from a tyrant with a clipboard. I accepted. Our first act was to commission a full forensic rebuild of the HOA's finances, with quarterly reports posted publicly.
I love that all of you are trying to
The
influence me
second
into
was to revise
being
the
unhealthy and
bylaws so
smoking.
no
That's
president could
so
override a
toxic of
vote
you.
without written consent
Wow.
from 2/3 of the board.
Wow.
The third,
I don't smoke.
we installed a
No,
permanent
thank you.
community bulletin board outside the clubhouse
These lungs
with
are
a simple
crystal
brass
clear.
plaque at the
Pulse
top,
check, thank you.
governed by the people who live here.
Ow.
That fall, I found myself invited to give a short talk at a regional HOA reform summit.
The one days before it's gonna miss.
Apparently, word had spread about the case, and other communities were looking for
It's
guidance.
so round.
I stood behind a podium in a
I'm pretty
modest
sure it is
conference hall,
incredibly fluffy,
talking
or
to
I think it's
retirees, veterans, young
think
couples,
it's
and
just
single parents,
fat.
all of them tired of the same story playing out in different
Like,
zip
for
codes.
50 subs.
This
would
started
you
with a driveway, I
fucking
said,
do
but it ended with
cocaine?
accountability.
No.
Not because of one person,
Probably
but because a
not,
community
you know?
decided it was done being
100?
quiet. They asked questions. They took
Being
notes.
quiet
Some of
feels
them
like
looked at
getting
me
a
like I'd
giant
cracked
thorn
some
out of my
code,
ass.
but I reminded
Good
them
job.
it wasn't magic.
I am happy for you.
It was documentation,
I don't even wanna
persistence,
smoke,
and
smoke. I
refusing
just
to let
hate
intimidation
smoke. I
win.
hate cigarette
By the
smoke.
time
It's like on
winter
my
crept
top 10
in,
things
the
of things I
final
hate is
sentencing
cigarette
came
smoke.
down. Tamara
Like
was
the-
sentenced
ugh,
to
it
12
just
years in
fucking
federal
reeks.
prison, with no
And it gives
parole
me
for at
headache.
least 8. She was ordered to repay the full amount embezzled,
I love that
though
the
we
dealer
all
is
knew
just
only
still
a fraction
standing
would
there.
ever be recovered. Still, the message was clear.
Standing on top of
Abuse
your
power
food,
here and
I
you'll
get
lose it
that.
publicly, legally, permanently. The HOA, once a symbol of control, became a model of reform. Other neighborhoods reached out,
For,
asking to copy
what,
our new
200 subs,
bylaws.
which is made of
Some even
400
asked
commit
Marcus
war
to speak at
crimes.
their meetings.
See,
He
now
always
we're
said no,
getting
said he
into
preferred this
tempting
neighborhood just the way it
offers.
was.
Depends
One
on the
evening,
war
I pulled into the
crime.
driveway just as the sun
Depends on the
dipped
war
low,
crime, I'd say.
casting gold across those slate and black pavers. A kid from down the block waved as he rode past on his bike. Wind chimes tinkled from the porch
For
next
20
door.
subs,
No one was
would
being
you just
cited.
fucking straight up die?
No one was being fined for paint colors or mailbox fonts.
yes,
Just homes.
I would.
Just people.
It's
Just
always
peace.
a war
The way a
crime.
neighborhood's supposed
Shitload
to
of
be.
dudes in our base.